So while we light up, Robert has a question.
So I was reading on October 22nd, 1962, John F. Kennedy put a blockade on Cuba. But before he did that, he sent his advisors down to buy up as many Cuban cigars as possible. So my question is, are Cuban cigars really all that?
Good question.
Bag of chips.
And the funny thing is, I saw something online the other day that showed a picture of Kennedy, and he's like, this man smoked Cubans. And then I was like, well, that man's also the reason we can't have Cubans. So what are you really trying to say here? All right. So the big deal with Cuban cigars is the big draw, honestly, is that they're forbidden fruit. Let's be 100% honest up front. They're forbidden fruit because you can't have them. They're more sought after. But the bigger story behind Cuban cigars is they're still kind of one of the pure cigars. And when I say by pure, is like their tobacco is grown in Cuba. It's harvested in Cuba. And their process is all done by Cubans, and their cigars are what they call perfecto or puro. which means puro, that the entire cigar is Cuban leaf. So the wrapper, the filler, the binder, all of it is Cuban. So, and when you talk about, cigars outside of Cuba, they've been able to sample from different places. So you might get a cigar with a Nicaraguan leaf filler, but the wrapper may be San Andreas, or it may be a completely different wrapper tobacco leaf, and it may have a completely different binder on it. So it's more of a blended cigar. And that's really kind of where the big differences come in with the Cuban versus, a premium cigar that we get in the store today. I'm pretty sure Andy has some more info on it for you, but that's the big hit or miss thing with Cubans. Now, if you're talking about taste, I mean, a premium cigar can hold up against a Cuban pretty much any day of the week. I'm not gonna lie. I've had a couple Cubans in my lifetime. They were good. I'm not gonna put them down. They were good cigars, but not much different than what I smoke here in the States. As far as taste, as far as build, as far as everything about the cigar, it doesn't, the heavens don't open and light shines down upon you once you light up a Cuban cigar. It smokes like a regular cigar. Well, maybe it does for Andy. It didn't for me. But of course, it could have been because I was on a cruise liner and it's in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But,
no, I agree with that. I think the draw to Cuban cigars is forbidden fruit. They've been in the game for eons. First 1500s, I think, is what Gibs and I read the same article from. So they've got the history of being probably the longest manufactured cigars out there. I think in recent times, i.e. since Castro took over, there have been bigger issues in regards to quality, and so I don't feel that they're the best thing on the market. I've had my fair share from gifts from other people, or while I'm on been out of the country, and I spent other people's money on them. Thank you, federal government. Certainly didn't spend US dollars on those. No, not at all.
It's a weird thing to say.
Yeah, just but I think that they're not the bomb like they used to be, and I think a lot of that has to do with the way the Cuban government has treated agriculture, especially around cigars, in the last, I don't know, since the 60s.
Yeah.
the last 60 to 70 years. And yeah, Salinger went and picked up 1,200 petite, H. Upmans for Kennedy, the night / morning of when Kennedy signed the Cuban embargo. And signed it the morning Salinger came in and said, "Yeah, I got you 1,200 cigars." Kennedy pulls out the embargo out of his desk and signs it into law.
Interesting.
Yeah. But going back, and I think one of the biggest draw of the Cuban cigar is like Andy was saying, they kind of started the whole manufacturing process for cigars. They're the ones that started producing for the masses. So when the European settlers come over to Cuba, they were kind of introduced to cigars at that point. And then again, manufacturing started, I mean, maybe 100 years later, they actually started mass producing them.
Yeah.
So they got the oldest. So when you're the first, just like Henry Ford, he's kind of credited with the automobile, even though he didn't create the automobile, because he started getting it to the masses. He's kind of credited with cigars or with cars. And then Cuba, since they start mass producing, credited with cigars. So I hope that answers your question, Robert.
There you go. Thank you.
I thought Ford was credited with the assembly line and the process, not so much the car.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's accredited with it, but he didn't actually do it. The car was around way before Henry Ford decided he wanted to put it on an assembly line. I think the first car was actually produced or made in Europe. I think it was a European invention.
Yeah, the time that Ford was starting to do his thing, there was probably 24 car manufacturers around the world, and they're all they're mostly coach companies, if I remember correctly. This is a thing I looked at a long time ago, so sorry if my data is bad, but mostly making like horse-drawn buggies and coaches and stuff. And that manufacturing process that Ford did he turned it into a business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Custom vehicles to, everybody needs one of these.
Exactly. And
any
it's
color
kind of
you
what,
want, as long as it's black.
Yep, as long as it's black. And it goes back to the same thing with the Cuban cigar. They didn't invent the cigar. People were smoking cigars before that, in other countries as well. It's just because they came up with a way to get it to the masses, they're kind of accredited with being the first, which kind of the best, But again, not putting down a Cuban cigar at all. Good cigars, but you have premium cigars here in the States that are just as good.